Let's see the voice of imperative sentence. Voice in imperative mood. If the active voice is in the imperative mood, then we must follow this structure. We know the verb, the sentence in the active voice. If the sentence begins with verb, then object, and then full stop. We must remember this is an imperative sentence and it is now in the imperative mood. So the sentence begins with the verb. So its structure is in the passive voice. We must begin with let. Begin with let. Then object. Then object will be here, and this is now subject, but after let the subject will be objective form. So object will be here. We must begin the passive voice with let, then object will be after let, then we must put here be, and the verb will be in the past participle form. Verb in past participle. Past participle. This is the structure of passive voice if the sentence is in the imperative mood. This is the structure, one structure. So now see an example here. If the, I repeat, if the sentence begins, if the active voice begins with verb, then object. In that case, the passive voice will be begin. We must begin the passive voice with let. Then after let, the object will be here after let. Then we must put here be, and the verb will be past participle after be. So let's see an example. Change the voice. So this is verb and this is object. This is active voice, and the verb, this sentence begins with verb. So we must begin the passive voice with let, and the voice is the object. So object will be here. Let the voice, and there will be be, and change will be in the past participle form, changed. Let the voice be changed. Another example, we can do the work. Do the work carefully. Carefully. So this is active voice, and the sentence begins with verb, main verb. So we must begin with let, then the work is object. The work will be here as object. Let the work, and after the object, after this, we must put here be, and the verb do will be in the past participle form, done carefully. Do the work carefully. Let the work be done carefully. Let's see another example of another structure of imperative sentence. If the sentence begins with, if the active voice begins with let, and here is a subject, but let, after let, the subject will be in the objective form. So here is object, and the verb here, after let, but this is subject, but after let the person will be in the objective form, so must be in the objective form. So let plus object plus verb plus object. After let, this is subject, this is subject. So, and we know this is another structure in the imperative sentence mode. So in that case we must use this structure. We must begin the sentence with let. As this is imperative sentence, we know imperative sentence begin in the passive voice. If the sentence in the imperative mood, then we must begin with let in the passive voice. So let, then object will be here, then be we must put here be after the let of the object, and then be, then verb will be in the past participle form, verb in past participle, then up, as we see here, let plus object, the active voice begins with let plus object, so we must put here by, then we must put here by, then this will be changed into object, here object, full stop. I repeat, if the active voice begins with let, then object, then main verb is in the present form, the verb is in the present form, and the object. So we must begin passive voice with let, then object will be after let, then we must put here be, and the main verb will be past participle, the main verb will be past participle form, and then removing let, the object will be the object in the passive voice, and before it we must put by. So let's see an example. Let him write an essay. So let him write an essay. So we know this is the verb is in the present form, so we must know it is in the active voice, so we must, and it is imperative sentence, so we must begin the passive voice with let an essay, let an essay, let him write an essay, let an essay, and then after object we must put here be, and the verb will be past participle, write will be written, and let him, so by him. If there is let me, then by me. There is let us, by us. Let them, by them. So let, removing let, we must take the object before after by. Another example we can see here. Let Shumi cook food. So let food be cooked by Shumi. This is the example of imperative mood, and there are some other imperative sentence structure, and if the sentence begins with do not, then verb plus object. We must know this is imperative sentence, imperative mood, and it is active voice. So in that case, the passive if the sentence begins with let, so we must begin the passive voice with let not. Then object, then be, and the verb will be past participle form. The verb in past participle and full stop. I repeat, if the sentence begins with let, do not, then do not, we must begin the passive voice with let not. Then object will be come here, and then we must put here be, and after the object we must put here be, and the verb will be the past participle. We can see an example. Do not hate the poor. So we must begin the sentence passive voice with let not the poor, then be, and hate is the present form, so it will be the past participle form, hated. Do not hate the poor, let not the poor be hated. But if the sentence, if the active voice begins with never plus verb plus object, this is the active voice, structure of active voice, and it is in the imperative mode. So in that case we must begin the passive voice let not plus object plus either be. We must put here either be, and the verb will be past participle here. Verb in past participle. The verb in the past participle. Never plus verb plus object, then this is active and this is passive. Let's see example. Never tell a lie. So we must begin the passive voice with let not, then a lie, and there is either be. Then tell will be past participle told. Never tell a lie, let not a lie ever be told. Never do it again. Let not eat ever be. Do will be past participle done. Then again is the other word, so it will be put after the structure. So never do it again. Let not it ever be done again. Let's see some structure of interrogative form. If the sentence is in the interrogative form, interrogative mood. Interrogative mood with WS. So WS question, we must know WS, and this is active voice. If the sentence begins with what, how, when, where, what, how, when, where, then helping verb here, as the sentence is imperative mood, interrogative mood, so we must see here some auxiliary verb and then object, then note of interrogation mark. This is interrogative and begins with WS. So if the sentence begins with what, how, when, where, what, how, when, where, and then we must use this here. We must begin. If what, then we must begin what. If how, we must begin the passive voice with how. If when, we must begin when with when. If where, we must begin where. This is structure of passive voice, and this is passive voice. So, and সাহায্যকারী helping verb will be here. Helping verb will be put here according to tense. According to tense, we must know. According to tense, here helping verb will be put, and then object will be the subject here, then verb will be in the past participle form, verb in past participle, then by plus subject will be the object, and then first note of interrogation. This is the structure. I repeat, if the sentence begins with what, how, when, where, then we must begin the passive voice with what, how, when, where, any of this. So then according to the tense, we must put here some auxiliary verb. We must put here auxiliary verb according to tense. Then object will be the subject after the auxiliary verb, then the main verb will be the past participle, and the subject will be the object. Then before it we must put here preposition by. Now let's see some example here. What did he give you? So this is the this sentence is now in the active voice, and it is now in the, as there is did, it is in the past indefinite. So we must begin the sentence with what. What and past tense, we know past indefinite tense. If the sentence is past indefinite tense, then we must put here was or were. As the person is second person, so we must put here where. What were you give will be in the past participle form, given by, he will be him, and then police, then note of interrogation. And we can see another example. When did you buy this book? So when we must begin such sentence with when, the passive voice with when, and then did is auxiliary verb and it is in the past indefinite, so we must use according to the object and the person. So this book will be here, so this book will be third person singular number. So when was this book, then buy will be past participle form bought, then you will be after by you, and there is post note of interrogation mark. There is note of interrogation mark. So this is the structure of if there are some WS word, begins with WS word. Let's see another structure here. If the sentence begins with, if the passive active voice begins with who, then verb plus object and there is note of interrogation. So if the sentence begins with who, then we must begin the sentence with by whom. The sentence begins with by whom, then by whom, then helping verb will become here, then object will be subject and the verb will be past participle. Verb will be in past participle. Then I repeat, if the sentence begins with, if the active voice begins with who, then we must begin with by whom. Then helping verb according to the helping verb will be put here according to the verb tense. According to tense here, according to tense, we must put here helping verb, then the object will be subject, then verb will be the past participle. Now let's see an example. Who did the work? So we must begin by whom. The passive voice with by whom, and did is the main verb and it is in the past participle. So was, by whom was the work. Do is in the past indefinite, so it will be the past participle form. By whom was the work done. We can see another example. Who can make you happy? So by whom, who, by whom. Can, there is modal auxiliary, so it must take an be, so by whom can you object, and then be, and verb will be past participle met, and then other words happy. Who can make you happy? By whom can you be made happy? But if the sentence begins with whom, then helping verb, then subject, then verb, then object. And so if the sentence active voice begins with who, then whom we must put here. We must begin the sentence with who. Then helping verb will be here as according to tense. According to tense, it must be auxiliary verb. Then the object will come here. Then main verb will be in the past participle form. Verb in past participle. Then by, and then subject will be the object here. And after that, there will be an interrogation mark. This is interrogative form if the sentence begins with whom. So whom did you give money? Who. As the active voice begins with whom, then we must begin the passive voice with who, and there is did, so was the book given by me.